really is.
Good evening. Today is Thursday, July 28th. It is 7 p.m. and this is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I'll start off the meeting with a roll call. I'll ask the members to introduce themselves from the right to the left.
Tammy Story, City of Beech, or Beech Grove City Schools representative.
Janice King.
Kathy Chappell, Secretary.
Ron Moat, Vice President.
Donald Webb, President, and our other board member, Mac Bellner, could not be here tonight. She had a previous engagement. I will ask if anybody had any questions or additions for the minutes that Kathy put out. If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve them.
I'll approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Next thing on our agenda is payment of the bills. We have our bonds that have to be paid, or half-year bonds, $280,872.56. Everything in this bill, it belongs to, except for Tim Showalter, who does our videotaping, and a small one from Lewis and Caps. And our $22.50 sewer bill belongs to the bond financing. So if there are no questions, I'd ask for a motion to pay our bills.
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll hand it there. And,
What was the total?
let's see, we can either do the mayor or Trent first.
Okay.
Age before beauty.
There you go.
I wasn't going to speak up. I was going to let the mayor make that decision. So whatever he says goes. Trent Newport with Crossroad Engineers. Good evening. I'm here this evening to present the consultant contract for the design of what was called the Beech Grove Greenway and now being called the Franciscan Trail. The boards that you have here are the ones that you've seen in previous meetings, previous RDC meetings, previous public meetings, and so forth. And it's the exhibits that we used also to go and get federal funding through the MPO. We were successful this spring in getting that funding. The funding that was received that's now officially programmed amounts to $2.64 million towards the trail. We estimate the total project cost at $3.75 million. That leaves a local match of $1.1 million, and those are all phases. So those are design and right-of-way services and right-of-way land acquisitions and construction inspection. So that is to the end cost that are estimated. And so they have not set the exact timeline on it, but we do know that it's going to be what they refer to as fiscal year 2021, which would probably be as early as calendar year 2020 for construction. If you get shovel ready, so to speak, there is a chance things can move up, but we really don't know that until probably closer to that time that we're talking about down the road. So I did present this to the Board of Works earlier this month because the contract was drafted to be between Crossroad Engineers and the City of Beech Grove Board of Works, as well as the RDC, because we understood it was going to be a shared funding between the two agencies. So the contract was drafted with signatures for both. It did receive approval at the Board of Works meeting, and I have those documents that they signed, two of those in original format. I did provide, after that, the mayor requested kind of an expenditure calendar for the project, for our work, for the design work, and I actually just emailed this to you this evening, Don, so this is a hard copy,
Okay.
but you have it in email as well, so
think I just-
sorry about the small
That's okay.
print. So if you want to share that this evening, but you can also forward that on to all the RDC members. What it does is it shows you what we're expending, and in discussions that we've had so far on the project, we understood that budgets were tighter this year than they are in 17 and 18 and 19 going forward. And so what we are suggesting is that we expend $30,000 of the contract this year just to get some key elements moving. And some of those are key to our critical path on the schedule. We have to start some environmental work. There's some survey work that has to be done. There's some different pieces that'll kind of get the calendar moving on the project. And then the rest of the expenditures are kind of, what we do is we show them through, based on quarters, throughout the rest of the contract. And so it is spread out over that time, and we understand that this cost, whatever we would invoice would be split 50-50 between the city and the RDC, and we can even invoice it that way. We can actually send two separate invoices that match the same amount every month. And so I think that's our goal. Did you want to talk about
No, I think it's
St. Francis?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
At the Board of Works meeting that I attended, St. Francis representative was there to say that they were going to contribute $400,000 towards the project. So that obviously would be $400,000 of the $1.11 million. And it's my understanding that their commitment would be during the construction. And so, as you know, maybe from previous projects that we've done that are federal aid, you pay for the design as you go, which is kind of what that expenditure sheet shows. As we do work, you pay for it. But then when we're ready to go to construction and it goes through an NDOT letting, you have to have your money ready right then. Even if it's going to take a year or whatever, or 2 years to construct it, you have to have all your money right then paid to NDOT. That would be the time that we understand that St. Francis would pay their portion, that $400,000 that they're donating towards the project, and then you would have the balance. So at the time of construction, what's left is approximately $700,000, something like that. And so if they're paying the $400,000, then there's $300,000 or something like that left, and it's my understanding that, and those are construction pieces. That's my understanding that would also be split between the RDC and the city. And again, that's year 2020-ish. Could be 2019 if we're ready ahead of time, or it could even be potentially 2021, depending on the MPO's funding. Did I miss anything? So I know there was a lot of information there, but hopefully you kind of get the understanding that our contract that we're presenting tonight is a design. Towards the end of that contract, there will be an amount that will be not paid to us, but actually for any additional right-of-way that we have to get, which there are some pieces, especially at the east end of the trail. You will actually pay the landowner. Again, if that's split, that's between the two parties. But those are programmed in the dollar amounts that I gave you. So we've estimated some dollar amounts for the easements or right-of-way that we would have to purchase. So it's in the dollars I was saying, it's just not in this contract because you actually pay that to the landowners when that time comes. And obviously, that'll be towards the end of the design, probably within about a year of construction is when we'd be ready to go acquire those pieces of right-of-way that we need for the trail. Okay, happy to take any questions that I can.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I have a question, but I don't think it's for you. I think it would be more for you. So St. Francis says they're going to give us what would you say?
I think it was 400, yes.
In basically maybe between 2019 and 2020. If they commit to it, is it in writing, or what is it?
It's not currently in writing. It wouldn't be binding yet.
Are we going to make it binding?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
good.
my question. It will be. Okay.
Yeah. The president of St. Francis stood up to the council
Okay.
and made that comment.
Okay.
And that was just 2 weeks ago also, yeah.
I just didn't know, they've given us money before and then taken it
I
back.
have Did we approach St. Francis, or did they come to us and say, hey, we'd like to do something good for
No, I
this?
approached him.
We approached them?
That's good.
Because, when I do my part, I'll talk about the hospital, but the hospital is going to be taken apart. And, there's so many people that have a tie to that building. something happened in their life. They were born there, somebody died, something. Well, that building's not going to be there anymore,
Right,
but those ties are still going to be there.
sure.
So what I recommend that they do is, there's some really beautiful architecture on the outside of that building. When they tear the buildings down, they're gonna take that out, incorporate, and put it in the trail. So throughout the trail, there'll be signs of the old building.
I think that'd be nice.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really neat thing, and obviously it's a great partnership to have, and
And they need to do that.
Right, I mean, I think it's a good faith kind of thing. I
Is it
like
considered historic?
Yes,
Would they ever consider doing sort of what they did with Circle Center and taking part of that and making it like the front facade of whatever they do and apartments or whatever, retail or whatever, and make part of that be a part of the new building?
I think they would be very interested in talking to somebody who would make that recommendation to them, because I think they would be interested in saving as much of that as they can.
they might not be the eventual developer, so there'd be probably other people in the discussion, but I can't see why anybody wouldn't have interest to do that, you
I
know?
think what they had to do is they had to get the Historic Society involved, and they told them what they needed to keep and what they didn't need to keep on the buildings downtown, on the storefronts. So, I don't think they charge since this is, this is Historical Society, but it might be something to consider, even have pieces of it. For the oldest building, anyway, the one on Sherman,
That'd be
17th
cool.
Street.
I do want, are you done with phase one, Trent?
Yes.
Can you talk about phase two?
Yes, actually,
Is that gonna be behind your house, Don?
Yeah, well, it's gonna be across the creek from
Yeah.
us, in the corner. Yeah.
so the other thing that we talked about at the Board of Works meeting that we discussed is that the mayor has asked us to put together another application for this fall, and that's when the MPO applications come out, so they're generally due around Thanksgiving, for an extension of the current greenway to extend somehow, some fashion through the campus, the high school campus. And so obviously, this is the high school campus, and phase one's going to end right over here at Emerson at the end of Hornet Avenue. And so we're talking about, finding a way through here, whether it be through the woods or through around Hornet Park Elementary, down maybe along the south side, and then back up through and getting back up to where basically the Safe Routes to School project was on Churchman, as well as the Churchman sidewalk that's to be built next year. And so it's going to, again, I think it would score very well because it's going to connect a lot of things. It's not nearly as big of a project, but it would connect maybe the neighborhoods over here on the east side, as well as some of these areas that are kind of master plan visions of the school. And obviously, those, may change over the years, but again, being federal funded, this project would be out, another 4 years or whatever. It'd be a year behind, or probably on the tail end of the construction of the phase one. And so that is something that we're looking at putting an application in for this fall. And the school, again, is on board. A lot of the, I could see where the entire portion of this would be all on school property. And then within Hornet Avenue right-of-way, and not require any right-of-way, no right-of-way cost, as long as the school's a partner, and they obviously have been wanting to do that.
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna leave all these boards here so that, as we get into the project, should you get people with starting to have a lot of questions, whether it's neighborhoods that we're gonna meet with or whatever, I'd like to know, trying to get out ahead of those issues and go talk to people, sometimes even one-on-one, is the way to go, and make sure that we're up front and talk to people, gather information. So certainly as you're out in the community, if you hear those kind of either comments or reservations about the project, I would love to hear from you and get some contact information to go out and meet those groups or those people and start talking about the project.
So what do you, we've got 30,000 in environmental that we're gonna do through this year. What does 17 look like as far as costs and expenditures? Can you kind of lay out like 17 and 18 as far as, you know, what, yeah.
They're at the bottom of.
Yeah, so we have the 2016 total at 30,000. The 2017 total is a 193,550,000.
Split in half.
Right. So
Again.
what does that cover?
That covers, well, all design-related functions. So we will have to do soil borings for all the bridges, design, survey, utility coordination, public meetings, and then the beginnings of some things like submittals, and of course we have Schneider is on the team as well, and so their landscape design, and then the completion of the environmental document. When I say 30,000 towards the environmental document, that doesn't complete it. That just gets it started. It's a pretty long project that has a lot of things going on. When you're touching any school or park, environmental documents become much more difficult. And so, probably the completion of that, maybe by the end of 17, and then 18 is $55,500, and then 19 is about $90,000, and 20 is about $28,000. And the reason 19 ramps up is you have some of that right-of-way services and finalizing of the plans and all those kind of things that are kind of wrapping up.
So are these costs pretty well set then, or do you see escalation?
No, our contract won't have escalation. It is what it is that you see. We know it's going to be over that time. So the advantage is you get, when we put together stuff like that, we use today's rates. But that's the way of our business because we have a lot of projects that are 4-year links, and you can't really do it a different way. So no, those are not escalated costs. The other costs that we're talking about on construction and so forth, those are very early estimates. But we try to be conservative on those, and we definitely do put escalation and inflation in those numbers.
Right.
And try to project that because it's construction numbers that are 4 years away. So we try to take that into account.
That's what I was getting at is.
Yeah, on the construction side, we definitely take that into account. And the MPO let us put in those kind of things in our applications, so that's good. They've just started doing that, really. So yes, next year, 2017, would be the biggest design cost commitment you would have.
Well, we need to have community meetings then to deal with the design.
We will have, yes, we will have public meetings.
When do you think those come?
I would say probably through the first half. I was going to say summer of 17, maybe earlier than that, maybe springtime. Those are things I'll probably be able to better answer once we get into the environmental. Because they have to happen at certain parts of the environmental to be able to collect information and get feedback from the public. So they kind of have to happen at key parts. So, but definitely not 16. The only meetings that we would have in 16 is if I get feedback from somebody, a group or an individual. And, you saw what we had. We had a decent turnout at the public meeting we had here, but you're not going to get everybody. And so when, some people just don't want to come to those kind of meetings or they don't hear about them for some reason. And so that's why I like to get out and maybe do it through some other groups, as well as the people that you really hear from individually that are having a lot of issues with it, let us go talk to them
Right.
one-on-one. And that's all included as well.
Anything else, guys?
Don, you'll need a motion to approve the contract,
Okay.
and I have reviewed it. It's, for the most part, written pretty much in favor of the city, because it's a standard boilerplate Department of Transportation contract. Incorporates by reference a lot of the things that are used in DOT contracts. And also need a motion to approve the issuance of a notice to proceed for construction for the $30,000 scope of work, which will authorize you to sign that letter, which I have prepared, so that track and Crossroads can begin.
And we will come back at the beginning of the year then and ask for a notice,
Another one, yeah.
a notice to proceed for the remainder of the contract, basically.
So did you write the contract or did they write the contract?
It's a DOT template that they fill
Okay.
in.
And you're in agreement with it, you're fine with it? Okay. Okay.
Is everybody fine with that?
Yeah.
Then I'll ask for the motion to approve the contract first.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then what was the other one, Robert?
And before we go to the other one, it's just for the minute's sake, it's called the LPA consultant contract. The other one is called just authorization to issue notice to proceed to consultant for $30,000 scope of work for 2016.
I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of the contract in the,
Perfect.
I'll second.
All in favor?
aye.
We'll go forward with both and get this project moving.
Okay. I believe it's, I think all the members that are on here are on there.
Right.
Was there, you said there was another member, are they?
Yeah, Mac is not here tonight, or
Okay.
Linda, I should say, but
Here's the notice to proceed letter on Peterson.
And I can leave those here for Linda to sign, and then there's two there, one for you and one for us.
all right. I don't know how we should, I can set that back there. I don't know how we should do that.
Well, you've authorized the signing.
Right, we've authorized the signing, but the only one that's not there, I guess I'll just send Mac.
You can all sign it and then send it to Mac for her signature. And we'll want to get a copy of the notice to proceed once it's signed by you.
I signed it, so it's right there.
If you want to keep the notice proceed and email it to me, Don, and that way he'll have
Need to sign it.
it, and an email version is fine for me.
Okay.
Yes, need to sign twice.
I will need an original of the contract, but I can pick up.
Well, yeah, we can do that, and like I say, we can leave the contract with the mayor,
Or assign your
and I'll send Mac an email and ask her if she can stop by at some point in Dennis's office and sign it, and then once it's signed, he can get a hold of you.
Yep, I
And we
can
should
come
be
up
able
and
to
get
do
it,
it
no
that way.
problem, that works great. Any other questions for me?
No, thanks a lot. One thing I will say is when we get into the fall meetings, if we can figure out a spring date, I think that'd be better. Because I think we could use the school system to also put out the word about the Greenway. Because I would like to make, the last one we put out some word, but I'd like to make more of a concentrated effort. And I will let you know when Carrington has its homeowners association meeting. Now, not a lot of people go there, but it's going through that community. It'd be a chance for you to
I think that would be great.
It'll be a chance for you to reach out, because those homeowners along Charnwood, they will be, impacted on that, so.
Yeah, I think that would be terrific, actually, and if they're like most ones, they have it once a year, it's in the winter sometime.
It is the second Tuesday in February.
Okay, so, yeah, if I can find out,
I will let you know, because we get our mailings for the homeowners dues in the fall, and I'll be sure to let you know when that meeting is, and I'll remind you a couple of days before. And if you drive down 9th Street, we put signs out every year to let people know when it is, to try to get just enough people.
well, and if the notice goes out and can include something that we're gonna talk about this, maybe the turnout would be a little bit
Right,
better. There
and,
might be some
yeah.
interest.
Should we
That's a
skip
good
it?
idea,
Yeah.
too.
Okay, thank you very much, I
Thank you.
appreciate your confidence, and we look forward to working on the project.
Absolutely, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Trent, we might also want to ask you to come to a board meeting,
Mm-hmm.
just because a lot of times there are people that watch the board meetings that maybe don't watch this.
Okay.
School board meeting.
School board meetings, yeah. Yeah, I presented at the school board meeting because we got their backing by vote back this spring, right before we did the application.
If you want to
Is
come
winter or
talk
spring,
about
maybe?
it
But,
again to
yeah,
inform the
I think that
public,
would be
you're
good.
welcome to.
Yeah.
We can see what we can do to get you on there.
Yeah. So again, we have to get through some steps before,
Sure.
before that kind of counts for us. And so I'll keep everybody posted on that. Probably come back this fall and kind of give you, one of the meetings this fall, probably give you a status. And then we can talk a little bit more about schedule. But yeah, I think the school board's a great idea. Thank you.
Thanks.
Great.
Mr. Mayor?
All right, several things going on. You folks, along with the city, received an award from the Community Action of Greater Indianapolis. The annual award was given as a result of the contribution to senior living at the Beech Grove senior community. So you were recognized, along with the city, for excellence in providing home to seniors. So that was done last Tuesday. Attended a luncheon downtown. It was really nice. And there's a really nice award downstairs. I didn't bring it up, but kudos. That project has exceeded all expectations. And I met with them again Tuesday, and they would like to do something else, but they're struggling with locations. So
Is it completely leased out now?
yeah, and a waiting list.
Wow.
That's great.
It was completely leased out with a waiting list before the ribbon cutting,
Wow. It sure looks a lot better than a pile of rocks.
doesn't it?
Yes.
Looks nice, very nice.
But anyway, phase one of the Greenway, I think, I'd been talking with St. Francis about it, and we'd had ongoing discussions because we get a lot of comments about, a history at the hospital with families. And we meet and talk, and, they're gonna tear the buildings down, but the legacy is still there, so you have to preserve some of it. And it was a very easy decision for those folks. Their executive board up in Mishawaka voted yes. And I suspect that they'll stand by what they said.
I have a question. on
Sure.
that. When does the tear down begin of the building?
There's two or three things going on. The first thing is they're remodeling the Medical Arts building. That's the building that has the parking garage. And I suspect that they'll be done sometime early fall, and they'll move people back to Beech Grove. They're not creating any new jobs. They're moving people from Greenwood, I think, back to Beech Grove.
So they're keeping that building?
They're keeping that building, and the one-story crossover building from there to the tower, they're keeping that as well
Oh.
for their employees
On the hospital side.
on the hospital side. Everything else is going to be dismantled. They have hired a company called DLZ to manage that process. And we have been working with them very closely as they prepare to get the building ready for bidding out. They're going to bid it out sometime in August, take bids to tear it down. And then they want to start in November. They're not going to blow it up or anything. They're going to take it down a piece at a time. So it's going to be a long process. Probably when we get to that point in the fall, I'll send out an email, ask somebody from the RDC to kind of, if they're available to, when we have meetings, to join us at the meetings. So you start to get, it's just a little bit early right now, to keep you in the loop as to what's going on, because that is a redevelopment area. So the city is going to hire, we're going to hire an engineer to protect us when the building gets down and they're down to the infrastructure. Because we want to make sure that all the sewer lines and all of that utilities are properly closed and there's nothing nothing going on. So that's coming. I have not had any discussions with St. Francis on what they're going to do with the property. I can speculate all day long, but they have, I haven't asked them and they haven't told me. My speculation would be that that will be green space, but that could be all wrong. I don't know.
It's a tough situation because, you know, they took down the medical arts tower, then you could see redeveloping it into nice housing. But they're not gonna do that, and who wants to live next to a 14-story tower?
Right.
And so, you know, residential housing doesn't make sense, so then you're looking at what? Either commercial or light industrial.
You could do condos if you went up. You just have to go vertical.
Yeah,
You just can't do regular residential homes.
so, I guess for the purposes, if they converted it, we still don't stand to really get any money off this property at all.
We won't get any property off Alverno or the medical arts
Right, I
building.
know that, but I'm saying even when they tear this thing down and it's,
If they leave it green space, nothing.
right,
It'd be nice if they'd let somebody build on it, not a competitor to them, so that we could at least get taxes from it. I can't imagine that they'd want to do something that would hurt the city.
They won't.
I mean, they're not doing anything to help it if they're just going to leave it as green space.
Another reason why, not the main reason, but another reason why they want to be part of the Greenway system is because they'll have 300, 400 people over there, and they'll access that trail as well to walk. So I think that's all part of it. But we'll see how it goes, and when the time is right, I'll send an email out. Okay, we need to have you participate, somebody to represent the RDC, so you know what's going on. Having said that, I met again today with Community Health Network, and you know they're redoing that space behind Taco Bell, and they're set to move in sometime late fall, and that will be family practice. So, and I think they're going to have a long-term commitment to the city. So that's happening. Tomorrow we will apply for funding. The governor has talked about money being released for roads and a program to where they'll match up to $500,000. So there's a community crossroads matching grant program. And I think we'll apply up to $500,000. So tomorrow our application goes in so that we can do more paving this fall and early next spring. And I think it's around $800,000. So that's coming tomorrow. I sent an email out asking for someone from the RDC to come to a meeting with me. Jim Cantor, who's a very good person, he owns what they call Cantor Group. They want to develop the property across the street from the hospital.
right.
This is the third meeting I've had with him, and so now it's time for the Redevelopment Commission to come. You know, you go to meetings and but now, okay, now they've got a plan in place, they're arranging, they're financing, so it's time that the RDC become involved, because that too is in a redevelopment area, and you need to have input on what goes there. They want to do a mixed use with some senior apartments, with some retail, and it's kind of a neat idea. So that's coming as well. And I think it's the 10th maybe, Kathy, I don't remember,
August 3rd at 10 a.m.
August 3rd at 10 a.m. So
Are you talking about the building on
the two buildings, yes,
Buildings across from
Sherman on the
Yeah.
west side?
east
yes,
of St. Paul's
Yeah.
Center.
Okay.
yeah, so that's happening.
West.
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 Okay, I was like,
West.
I think that's west. A little directionally challenged.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember a couple of years ago when you helped the city with the part of the church and sidewalks? Okay, that is set to go next year. And we're ahead of the game, actually, and the inspection was awarded to Crossroad Engineers. So that project will go, by this time next year, I think sidewalks should be in. The school donated some property, First Baptist Church donated some property. Gene B. Click, Cambridge Square they're not donating property, but we're bartering with them to do some work. So that's on track. It's ahead of everything, actually. So that will really be a nice project, and it will tie back into the Greenway project. Trent talked about phase 1. Phase 2, we asked Trent to do. I haven't invited you folks to participate in that with us yet, and I don't know if I will. We just have to see how it goes. But I think it's something that's very purposeful, and I think I think it's good for the city. I think it's good for the school district, and with the improvements that they're making over there, this will just go a long way in making the property much more attractive. And the MPO has funded phase 1. They funded the sidewalks on Churchman, and then this phase 2, it all ties back to the same group. And phase 3 of the Greenway would come back Churchman, which is already there, Emerson, which the city's already done, it's there. It can already accommodate a trail. Main Street, when it was redone, can accommodate a trail. So you have a complete trail through your city. And then by 2024, our trail will become part of the Indianapolis Greenway Cultural Trail. So this is really good stuff, and looking forward to it. I won't be mayor when it happens, but I'll sure walk on the trail because it'll be good. We've been meeting. You're about to get another email from me asking for someone to sit in on the meetings because we're working with a company called Garmong and CSX. They own the property north of Amtrak, and that also is in a redevelopment area. Well, CSX is really interested in having that area developed, and Garmong is one of these companies that comes in and builds the building and leases it out, and it's very integral on the way they do it. But we meet, I think, sometime towards the end of August, and that might be the time for somebody from the RDC to sit in. This project, you're talking millions of dollars. And we've been working, and it's hard because CSX never wanted to be a participant. The city's tried this before, but now they want to participate. So we've met 2 or 3 times already, and meeting again. So I'll send an email out for some more help.
Would this be the type of development that you're seeing getting built up over by the airport with those kind of buildings, and then they lease them out to various businesses?
This company would come in and build like 100,000 square foot shell. No floor. It would have railroad tracks and spurs. Yes.
So they get it done.
And then they would find somebody to lease it, and they would finish it to their need.
And per whatever square footage they need, and then cut it up?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Heavy industry,
That's
So-
fine. That's probably sort of what you see over by the airport.
yes.
Which is a lot of businesses. It's just in a more concrete type of building versus a individual business. It's not a bad thing.
No, I don't know if you would even be able to see it from Emerson Avenue, but it would be a good redevelopment matter. That's it. Any questions?
What's the status of the street that we gave $50,000 to for the school?
Butler Avenue
Right.
is, it did get a little bit behind schedule due to some weather. They were hoping that it would be open by school start, which is today, right?
Right. I think I put that in my minutes.
Yeah. So they got a little bit behind because of weather, and I know we've had some good weather, but what happened was when they took all they got all the dirt exposed and everything, that's when we got the bad rains. And every time it would dry out to where he would come back to start again, we would get another bad rain. And some of those were pretty heavy rains, and it just sat on it. So it's actually, it got dried out really good towards the end. We got it, they actually poured curb yesterday, did stone today, and I was actually just texting with the contractor here recently. We're doing a proof roll at 7:30 in the morning for him to lay asphalt. So we had told the school that by next Friday we'd be done, and I'm hoping that we're actually ahead of that schedule, but he does have to get the 2 layers of asphalt down and then striping and some signage before we open it. So I would say, still probably late next week or the end of next week, it will be completed.
Great.
Yeah.
That's not a bad delay.
The school's definitely looking forward to having it. So they're aware of it, and they've set up their pattern is the same as last year, and then they'll make a pattern change. It will be a one-way south street. It will be a one-way south street.
Was it always planned to be a one-way?
There was talk about it being two-way. There was talk about it being one-way. The school was trying to decide what would work best for their safety of their buses in and out and their circulation, and they decided upon it being southbound, and so that's the way we're going to build it, and then I think it'll go through a city ordinance to make that official. Probably next month, I would assume, maybe, yeah.
Next city council meeting Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions on that?
No.
Okay.
One other thing I wanted to pass on, and then I'll sit down. The MPO has been very gracious to the city of Beech Grove over the past 4 years. And with the roundabout at Arlington, and they give us $1.3 million for the roundabout at Arlington and Churchman. So with that at the Greenway, we just went over $10 million in the last 3.5 years. So that's really, really good, and I'm happy about it. And the city will, in 5 years, the city will be, won't recognize it. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, do we have anything else on the agenda?
I don't think so.
One thing we need to probably talk to Dan this fall, but it looks like we're gonna have to commit about 97,000 next year. So I don't know if that's gonna leave us a whole lot of money to do things,
For what?
for anything,
What's the 97,000 committed
for the Greenway.
for the Greenway?
I mean, I don't know the exact amount. I think we have about 115, 120 a year that we can use. Now, keep in mind, next year we do get a little more because the Beech Grove station comes online and we'll get some tax revenue out of that. I don't know how much, but I might email Jeff and see where we are as far as,
I mean, is there still gonna be enough to pay, like legal bills and?
should be.
Okay.
I mean, next year will be a tough year because that's a big one, but then in 18 it's less, right? So-
But it's, I mean, what it is helping the entire city, school
Right.
district, everybody,
Right.
so.
Oh, it's like putting a roof on your house, it's not fun to pay for it, but you really need it. And to me, every dollar you put in the community, and where it'll pay it back for us is, you're adding $3.5 million of value to your community. So what's it gonna do? It is gonna help property values, because it's gonna make the city more attractive. It's adding value to the city, and it's adding value to everybody, and that's, to me, why it's a good idea, We were supposed to have a group come tonight to speak to us about development along Main Street, but I don't know if they're ready yet. They had approached Kathy about 2 RDC members, serving on, and what's the name of it, Kathy?
Next stop, Beech Grove.
Next stop Beech Grove, and then they came back and said they only wanted one, and Mac has said she would be willing to do it, so I'm gonna let Mac run with that, and when that group gets together and has an idea, well, I've indicated we'll be more than happy to listen to them, but,
They were supposed, a representative was supposed to be here tonight.
right.
I don't know what. I told him no, I wasn't gonna be on it.
So,
I'll tell you why later.
that meeting this Wednesday, does anybody want to do it? If nobody does, I can do it, but,
I can't go at 10 anymore.
I respond, I said I would do it, but if you want to,
no, I
that's.
don't care. If you want to do it, that's fine.
I
I'll rock, paper,
volunteered to do it
scissors
because
you
I
for
didn't
it.
know if anybody else was available to do it.
Well, I can do it if you don't want to do it, but if you want to do it, that's also fine. Rock, paper, scissors?
Or you can both go and share.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you want us both
At
there,
least-
Dennis?
It doesn't matter.
At least one of us will be there,
Yeah, we'll surprise you.
That's fine.
so. But other than that, I really don't have anything. I hope you all enjoyed your summer break. So with that, I guess I'd ask for
Are you, your next meeting, is it?
August 25th at 7 PM. That's the fourth Thursday in August. I think we'll keep that until, I mean, the issue will be Thanksgiving, obviously, and we may have to move it that month. And then Christmas, we won't have a meeting, because that'd be over Christmas break, but, you know, have a new board or whatever in January, and they can design the meetings then if they want, but I didn't think this was too bad. I mean, I'll write the report for the city council and try to get that out tomorrow, since the city council meeting's Monday, but. So, anybody have anything else? If not, thank all of you who came and anybody who watched, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 7:50.